Hi everyone, it's Linnea here for LDRS Creative, and today I'm going to be creating a winter card using a bunch of items from the new Halloween and Christmas 2022 collection. To start off with, I have the Reindeer games and the Christmas stable stamps and dies. I'm also going to be using the large word Christmas dies, as well as the Christmas sentiment stack, and I'll be using the sentiment stack die, which is previously released, along with the sentiment stack shadow straight 1 die, which is new from this collection. Here's a peek at the large word Christmas dies. This die set cuts out 3 different Christmas sentiments, and it cuts out the individual sentiment as well as a shadow for each of the sentiments. So you'll have Let It Snow, Good Tidings, and 'Tis the Season. And you can cut out just the sentiment and add this to your project, or you can cut the shadow for a little bit more dimension. On today's card, I cut the sentiment from white cardstock, and I'm going to back that with some red cardstock, so you have a lot of contrast here. I love how you can add a lot of dimension using this shadow. So I used red cardstock, but if you wanted to, you could use a specialty cardstock like a gold foil or a glitter cardstock or even pattern paper. Here's a peek at the new Christmas sentiment stack. This is going to stamp out a bunch of sentiments all at once, and you're going to cut this with the sentiment stack coordinating die or the sentiment stack 2 die, depending on if you want that ribbon cut edge or the blunt edge. And you can see how this die lines right up with those sentiments. You'll line up the squares on the stamp image with the squares on the die, and you'll get sentiment strips. New from LDRS Creative are the shadow dies. So for this one, I'm using the sentiment stack shadow straight 1 die, but there are also the shadow dies for the sentiment stack 2 die as well as the wave stack. This is going to cut out a shadow die for your sentiment strip. So now you have even more dimension. I love these sentiment strips because you have a thin sentiment on a strip of cardstock, and now with these shadow dies you have another element that you can add to your card for another pop of color or a little bit more dimension. Again, I'm backing this with red cardstock. I'm going to have everything coordinate on my card. I'm using the Reindeer Games stamps and dies as well as the Christmas stable stamps and dies. These sets pair together perfectly, and I have already pre-stamped and colored my images. I have the Christmas stable, and I just colored the stable and die cut that out. I love how the coordinating dies cut out the center of that stable, so you can add either some elves or some reindeer behind there. I have prepped an A2 top folding card, a red card topper, so this is cut to A2 size 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then I have a piece of white cardstock that is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, so that's going to have a nice red background there. You'll notice that everything on my card is white with a red background. That's a nice way to add a pop of color, but keep everything coordinated. I'm going to use some liquid adhesive. You can use tape runner if you'd like, but I'm just going to add my red card topper onto my card base, and then I will also add that white card layer onto my card. I want to have my reindeer from the Reindeer game stamp set that I've cut out peeking out from behind the stable. You could have them in front if you wanted, but since the coordinating die is cut out the inside of that stable, I thought it would be cute to have them inside. So I'm adding a little bit of liquid adhesive to their legs, and I'm going to position them right behind that stable. I'll do that with both the reindeer that I'm having on the left and on the right, and just kind of tuck them in. From there, I'm going to add my elves to the outside of the stable. Then I'll play around with positioning to make sure that everything fits. I know that my stable is going to go towards the top of my card. I'll have my sentiment that I've die cut from the large word Christmas dies below that, and then at the very bottom, I'm going to have a sentiment from the Christmas sentiment stack that I've cut with the sentiment stack coordinating die, as well as the sentiment stack shadow straight 1 die. I'll have that at the very bottom. So this is basically how my card is going to be laid out. I'll add some foam tape behind all of those elements, behind the stable, the die cut sentiment, and the sentiment strip, and I'm going to add them to my card. And that's it. My card is complete. I hope that you've enjoyed a peek at some of the new items from LDRS Creative and that this card inspires you to get crafty. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon. Bye!